Erika Jayne Girardi. You might know her as a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills, but what do we really know about her? Very little. So let's take a closer look. Welcome back to today's Celebrity News. I'm your host, Jaye So Extra, and this is the first video in a new series I'm creating called A Closer Look, where we take a deep dive into cases that have multiple layers. Today, we're going to take a closer look into Real Housewife of Beverly Hills, Erika Jayne, and her husband, Thomas Girardi, and the multi-million-dollar lawsuit and criminal charges they are both facing. Now, while I go over the case in the background, I'm going to be doing my hair. I just want to give a quick disclaimer because Erika Jayne Girardi and Thomas Girardi have not been found guilty of any crime. All parties that I mention in this video are innocent until proven guilty, and I will be using the word allegedly or allegations throughout this video so that I can prevent from getting sued. Now, in my other videos, you guys have mentioned that I don't need to use the word allegedly, especially if somebody has been convicted. I do not have a legal team. I do have experience in journalism and broadcast and production. I work for a newspaper, but when I work for that paper, I had the protection or the support of their legal team. I am on my own. So it might annoy you that I am using the word allegedly a lot, but I'm just trying to protect myself. All right. While I'm doing this video, I'm going to be doing my hair. I just washed it. It's clean. My face is also dry. I'm going to do that a little bit later too. And I'm just going to do a hair mask. So, Erika Jayne Girardi. We know her stage name is Erika Jayne, but her legal name is Erika Girardi. Erika was married, or technically still is married, to high-priced attorney Thomas Vincent Girardi of the law firm Girardi & Keese, located in Beverly Hills. His office is actually, or was, technically still is, located on Wilshire Boulevard. Fresh, clean hair. I'm going to throw up on the screen what I used. I used a Miel or Miel, I don't know how she pronounces it, exfoliating shampoo just to get all the built-up product out of my hair. So here is my natural hair and fro. Hope you like it. If you don't, oh well. So let's go back. Okay, so right now it's September 25th, 2022, and Erika Jayne, as we know her, has been on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for multiple seasons now. But before she was Erika Jayne of the Housewives franchise, she was just a girl from Georgia, you know, named Erika, a single mom, divorced, working at she called it a go-go club, or it was actually a strip club in New Jersey, a pretty famous strip club called Shakers. And I guess the reason why it was famous in New Jersey, or at least well known, is because the strip club was located next to the Bada Bing, the strip club that was featured in the HBO series The Sopranos. So those two clubs were kind of like the poppin' places in the New Jersey area. So Erika moved from Georgia when she was 18 years old. She was raised by a single mom who was a music teacher, and her dad took off when she was young. So she moved to New York and New Jersey to try to find, I don't want to say a better life, but a different life. You know, a life in the fast lane. If you've ever been to Georgia, you know it's very slow down there. So after, you know, meeting the wrong man and getting pregnant and having a baby and dancing in Shakers for many years, Erika decides that it's time for her to pack up her things and move to Hollywood to try to pursue a career in entertainment, whether acting or singing or dancing or whatever, but that's what she wanted to do. Now, while she is out in California, she gets a job waitressing, as many people do when they move out to California, and she meets a well-to-do attorney by the name of Thomas Girardi. They meet, he orders a drink from her, they chit-chat, they hit it off, one thing leads to another, and next thing you know, they're married. They get married quickly at a country club outing. Thomas, being a well-known and well-respected attorney, turns to one of his friends who was a judge and said, hey, will you, what's the word? Facilitate, I guess, the marriage ceremony. And he asked one of his lawyers who was at the bar to be a witness, and they got married right there at the country club. Let's rewind to before Erika meets Tom. Who is Tom? So Tom was this big lawyer but he was known for doing these big lawsuit cases. So if you remember the film Erin Brockovich, Tom Girardi was portrayed by a character in that movie because he was representing the people who were poisoned by this well that the PG&E company was like dumping chemicals into. I need to wet my hair, so I need to get my spray bottle. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. The spray I'm using is the As I Am Jamaican Black Castor Oil Water, and I just put it in this bottle because it makes it easier for me to spray my hair. Much easier. So yes, so Tom was depicted in the Erin Brockovich movie because he was actually representing, again, the people who were affected by the tainted well. So that class action lawsuit was worth, like, I don't want to say worth, but they settled for like $300 millions. It was anywhere between $300 and $600 million because of the number of clients that were involved with that case. So Tom Girardi argued that case against this huge company. In addition to that case, on September 9th, 2012, in San Bruno, California, a gentleman by the name of Joe Ruiz Gomez was sitting at home, and all of a sudden an explosion happened. He and his girlfriend were basically, I don't want to say incinerated, but they were burned pretty badly. He was burned pretty badly. She actually was found days later in a neighbor's shed. It wasn't clear if she stumbled into the neighbor's shed after the explosion and then collapsed, or if the explosion blew her into the neighbor's shed. But that young lady unfortunately lost her life, and Joe suffered third-degree burns on 80 to 90% of his body. So he had to get over 60 surgeries, he said, and he still has to get surgery for the rest of his life. I'm going to use this hair mask. It is called the Hydration Elation by As I Am. I'm supposed to put this in and leave it in for about 30 minutes. When the explosion happened, Joe's mother, took him to the hospital, and then her best friend Kathy told her, like, hey, we need to get you a lawyer. I think it was Kim. Her best friend's name was Kim. His mom's name was Kathy. So Kim said, hey, we have to get you a lawyer. I've heard about this Tom Girardi guy. So Tom Girardi goes and meets Joe's mother, gives her his resume, tells her, oh, these are the magazines that I've been featured in. He gave her the magazines and had post-it notes on the pages where he was featured, basically trying to sell himself to get the case so that he could represent this family. I don't want to use the term ambulance chaser, but it very much so it gives off those kind of vibes, okay? So after a bit of deliberation, Joe's mother, Kathy, and her best friend, Kim, decide that Tom Girardi is the perfect person to handle, all of the legal issues surrounding, this explosion. So after doing some research, Tom finds out that the city is actually at fault. The city and the gas company that put the pipes in the ground that was running gas through that neighborhood, so it was a gas line explosion. They found that the company was at fault, and they sued the company. They didn't give a specific number, but from what I researched, it was somewhere between $10 and $15 million. I actually think it was somewhere between $12 and $15 million. Now, again, the accident happened on September 9th of 2010. They brought Tom on as a lawyer in 2012, and that's when he started to sue the gas company and the city for the explosion, wrongful death for the young lady, so on and so forth. Basically negligence. They settled that case in 2013. The young man was told that he was going to be receiving, millions of dollars for his pain and suffering. But before that could happen, Tom contacted Joe's mother, Kathy, and said, hey, it's been 3 months since we settled the case. They settled in 2013. It's been 3 months since we settled the case. The company is releasing the funds. They're giving me the check. I am supposed to put it in this trust account, but I want to talk to you guys about an investment opportunity. It is one of those things where people are like, hey, I can give you your money now, or, I can double it in 6 months if you just do this investment. Basically double or nothing, like double your money. Anytime somebody offers you two birds in the bush, take the bird in the hand. So the family being very trusting of this lawyer who won this lawsuit for them, they said, okay, sure, we trust you to take this money and invest it. He said something along the lines of, you'll start seeing the result of your investment within 6 months, and there's zero risk of loss. The law firm will guarantee no loss. This was in a letter that Thomas Girardi sent Kathy Ruiz Gomez. All right, this side is done. I'm going to clip this up and start on this side. So after she agreed, they didn't see any of the money. So this is what happens when you win a settlement or a trial against a big company or any kind of lawsuit. You have the trial or the settlement. That happens first. That money then goes into what is called a trust account. The trust account is held separately from the actual law firm who handled the case. So it's at a separate bank that they can't have access to. The money is distributed from the account to the law firm to cover their legal fees, so on and so forth, court costs, whatever. And then afterwards, that money is then sent to the client, whoever was the victim in the case. So after your $15 million settlement, okay, you subtract the amount of the legal fees. One of the lawyers, I got all this from a documentary. I should have started with that. Excuse me. I got all this from watching the Hulu documentary, The Housewife and the Hustler, which was actually first shown on ABC, but you can watch it on Hulu. So I definitely recommend that you guys watch this. One of the lawyers in that documentary said that the client is supposed to get a detailed accounting of every single dollar that they are owed and where their money has gone thus far. So if you have a $15 million settlement and you are to pay, let's say, $1 million in legal fees, they're supposed to get an accounting of what every single dollar was. So it's like billable hours, this many hours on this day for this many dollars per hour, this amount of money for phone calls, this amount of money for research, for Xeroxing, for paralegal fees. All of that is supposed to be annotated for accounting purposes. There's supposed to be a document or like a spreadsheet given to the client so that they can see and do the math and subtract, okay, 15 million minus $1 million. This is where all that $1 million went. I should get $14 million at the end of the day. Then whatever that accounting spreadsheet says at the bottom, that check is supposed to match that. That never happened in this case. So the young man would call Tom, email him, text, whatever, and say, hey, I need to take, $50,000 out of my trust because I need to get surgery. I need to have another surgery, another skin graft, another plastic surgery for these burns. And Tom Girardi would say like, oh, the judge who, ruled in the case, was really afraid for Joe's safety and, for his protection. We just really don't want to want him spending, all of his money. This is a lot of money for such a young man, and we just don't think he knows what to do with it. So it's best if we just, handle his money and not distribute it at this time. It's like, what? I need this money for my surgery. So that's what he was arguing, Joe Ruiz Gomez. And this went on for months, just Tom constantly pushing the envelope or passing the buck, if you will. Like, oh, no, still waiting to hear from my investment firm. The financials are still up in the air. I can't necessarily get you your money. Well, eventually, that family went to another lawyer, and they had that lawyer file a lawsuit against Tom Girardi to get their money that they were promised from him. So the judge ruled in their favor, and Tom Girardi was ordered to pay $12 million to the Ruiz Gomez family. Now, he was supposed to pay $1 million up front. Then in a few months, he was supposed to pay $2.5 million and then continue to pay millions of dollars every few months until the entire settlement was paid. In the documentary, Joe said he got that one payment of $1 million and then they never saw a second payment or a third payment or whatever. Like the money, as he put it, the checks just stopped. Like they just stopped coming. So even though Thomas Girardi argued their case, won a settlement, put their money in the trust, then convinced them to put it into some investment account that he was managing, they get new lawyers, they fire him, get new lawyers, sue him for their money. He still didn't give them their money. So when you have a court order to do something and you don't, you're in contempt of court. Same thing with like child support, paying traffic tickets, whatever. Now that's just one instance. And this is a $12 million case we're talking about. Then comes victim number 2. There are multiple victims that Thomas Girardi has affected. This woman, Josie Hernandez, had some issues after giving birth to 3 children. She wanted to basically have a procedure to repair her pelvis. She had gone to the doctor and the material that they used was some sort of mesh or something to kind of strengthen her pelvic floor. That failed and she had a lot of health problems as a result of that. So she wanted to sue the company because of their faulty equipment. Finds Tom Girardi. He takes on the case. He sues them and wins. The company settles for like $135,000. Josie Hernandez said throughout her case changed hands of lawyers multiple times and she couldn't figure out why. She was never given a reason as to why her case was changing hands, but she never saw a dime of her settlement. So after some time, she then goes to a lawyer to try to sue Tom as well. Now, Josie had this surgery back in 2010. Her case was settled in 2014, and as of 2019, she still hadn't received any money. Now let's go to the next set of victims, which is probably one of the biggest cases Tom had since the PG&E well contamination. This was the Lion Airlines crash that happened in Indonesia where dozens of people lost their lives and it left widows and orphans from that crash. So a group of people, again, found Tom Girardi and decided to work together with him to file a lawsuit against the airline. Now, this case was a little different because there were multiple lawyers representing some of the victims' families in this crash, but Tom Girardi was handling the case for a number of victims' families. And also, there was a lawyer named Jay Edelson from Chicago who was also working with these families to get justice from this airline. So, when that case settled, Jay Edelson, who was kind of, I don't know if it was like sharing clients, but he noticed, he got word from these people that they hadn't received payment. So Jay Edelson, followed up with Tom Girardi in his law firm saying, hey, where is the settlement money for my clients? You know, they have been waiting for months. And at this time, it had almost been a year. And again, they never heard anything back. So after that, Jay Edelson filed a lawsuit against Tom Girardi in Chicago to get the money for the victims. Those victims have still not been paid. So at this point, we have multiple lawsuits that have been settled, either after a trial or settled out of court. We have dozens of victims. We have millions of dollars that were all supposed to go into a trust, but the trust was never paid out. Money from the trust was never paid out to the victims or the victims' families, to the clients. But those trusts are empty. So where'd the money go? Enter Erika Jayne. Now, if you guys have watched The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Erika Jayne is a pop star. She has like dance songs. And if you know anything about the business, the music business, it is very expensive. So Tom was using his money to fund Erika's dreams of being a pop star. Music videos, hair team, makeup, choreographer, vocal lessons, costuming, staging, rehearsal space, producers, DJs, creative directors, all of this stuff from the moment they got married, which was in the year 2000. And I believe Erika in 2007 was like, hey, now I want to really get into this music business. And also on the show, Erika and Tom are living in this Pasadena mansion, and you can see her closet, which had Chanel cuff bracelets. She had Cartier rings, and the Cartier rings that look like animals are upwards of $100,000. She had the Jaguar ring. I think she had the Peacock ring. But yeah, those rings are incredibly expensive. They have like diamonds and emeralds in them, and she had a few of them. She also had Louboutin shoes and YSL and Gucci and Manolo Blahnik and just designer everything, Miu Miu, and just everything designer. That cost a lot of money. When the case had reached federal court after the lawsuit was filed in Chicago, the judge on the case said, I'm going to refer this to the U.S. attorney. So the United States attorney is who handles federal charges and federal crimes. So at this point, Tom was facing not only federal charges, but jail time for his improper or misuse of client funds. In September of 2020, during COVID, Tom Girardi gave a deposition, which is basically sit down and answer some questions to the U.S. attorney. We want to see how culpable you are in this crime and, you know, what you are or are not guilty of. So the first question they asked him was, do you have any money? Do you have any funds? And he said, well, I had about $80 million, no, $50 million and in cash, and all of that is gone. He said it just like that. He started with 80 million, then he said, oh no, it was 50 million, all in cash, that's all gone. Then he said, I had about $50 million in stocks, all of that is gone. So this man was worth over $100 million, because you got to remember, if he had $50 million in cash and $50 million in stock, that means he had property, he had a Pasadena mansion, he had a G5, so he had a private jet, he had another house, and he owned his office building that was on Wilshire Boulevard. It's expensive real estate, okay? So he owned that building, he owned his Pasadena mansion, he owned a private jet, he had all of the jewelry that he had gifted Erika, he had high-end suits, he had jewelry himself, he had high-end watches, Rolexes, Audemars Piguet, Patek, got a little tangled there. So he himself had a lot of assets, you know. The court found that he had spent all of this money, and so they forced him into involuntary bankruptcy. That's what it said. Well, with bankruptcy, you have some trustees. So the trustees had requested that they get a special counsel to go over everyone's assets. So that is Tom and Erika's assets, and also anyone else that was affiliated with Tom in his businesses. So this special counsel had to go through Erika's bank accounts, Erika's personal belongings, to see where these millions of dollars could have went. Now you can't quantify travel, you know, like plane tickets and hotel stays, because that's an expendable. You can't hold it. It's not, you can't hold a trip to Dubai. You know, that's not an asset because you can't take it away. But a house you can take away, a car can. So they can only count whatever was tangible as an asset. But they went through all of her belongings, all of Tom's belongings, everything at his law firm to see what they could count as an asset, because what the government was trying to do was get the money to pay back these people who Tom owed. He allegedly took from the trust of these clients to fund his own lifestyle and inadvertently funding Erika Jayne's lifestyle. Again, this is all alleged at this point. This is what the reports are. Erika Jayne was subpoenaed twice to answer some questions regarding this case in 2020, but because of COVID and other reasons, the hearings were delayed, so she actually never sat down to be questioned. And the reason why I'm doing this deep dive now is because at the end of last week, Erika was actually cleared as a defendant in the case. So the lawyers have found that she had nothing to do with Tom allegedly taking money from the clients. She is not culpable in this crime, so she is not responsible for paying back any of the money's lost. Also, Erika filed for divorce from Tom after 21 years of marriage, right as these legal troubles were hitting the media and the news wire. She files for divorce, moves out of the house that they shared and gets a little tiny house. And this is all taking place or being documented on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So you guys can also watch the last 3 seasons to catch up on that. Yes, 3 seasons. If you want to see all of that play out on air. Excuse me. Let's see. What else? So she has been released as a defendant. The judge ordered that the Girardis liquidate all of their assets, including their Pasadena mansion, their G5. However, Tom has been allowed to stay in the mansion until the mansion is sold. No word on whether or not the house has been sold at this point. If I were him, I would, that's a pretty piece of real estate. You can easily sell that in California. Somebody will snatch it up quick because it's kind of secluded. And, move in with one of your kids or move in with one of your friends or your ex-wives. I'm sure those rich people have a guest house that you can stay in. Also, Tom Girardi is under a conservatorship. Yeah, conservatorship like Britney Spears. So Tom's brother is actually over all of his medical decisions and who is going to be his legal counsel, so on and so forth. They had a psychiatrist come and evaluate Tom. Tom was then diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. So there's actually no telling whether or not he will be able to stand trial in his own defense because he might not be rendered mentally capable of doing that. So at this point, this case is just like, it's going in circles. You got the element of Tom Girardi being this high-priced lawyer, winning all these cases, putting money into a trust for his clients, but never paying his clients. You have now that he's fighting Alzheimer's and is under a conservatorship. The man is 82 years old, so he might not be able to testify or say what happened or where the money went. Then you have the businesses that he created. Girardi Financial, Girardi this, Erika Jayne, I think it's called EJ Global LLC. Tom is listed as a co-owner or co-founder in that LLC, and Erika is listed as a co-founder or partner in his businesses as well. So all of her business is tied to his business, and all of his business is tied to her business. So when he was forced into bankruptcy, she was forced into bankruptcy, but they're not making her responsible or culpable for having to pay back the money of these clients. But their monies are tied together in the bankruptcy and all of their assets. There's just so many levels to this. And then add on the divorce. They didn't have a prenup. So if according to the documentary, his debts are her debts. So if she divorces him and they didn't have a prenup and she's hoping to inherit money, the man doesn't have any money. He has debt. So then does she inherit his debt and has to pay off? And at the end of the documentary, because Tom is no longer able to practice law in the state of California because he was facing disbarment, he's not able to earn money, especially if he's under a conservatorship by his brother. He's not at mental capacity to work or do anything. Erika is still working on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, being paid at least 5 figures, possibly 6, maybe even 7. No, probably 6 figures per episode, probably 7 figures per season. But she's being paid that every episode while she's been going through this. Again, this is the past 3 seasons she's been going through this public divorce, these legal woes with Tom. So she's in a position that she could be earning more money than Tom. So if they get divorced, she could have to pay Tom alimony. This is, so this is crazy. From a marriage of 21 years to a multi-millionaire to now trying to divorce an 80-something-year-old man fighting Alzheimer's and possibly facing having to pay this man alimony because you earn more than him. What a doozy. So that is where we are right now. The case is not settled. Tom Girardi hasn't been convicted, but again, Erika Jayne has been cleared as a defendant, and we're just gonna see where this goes with Tom. If he's going to have to go to jail, if he is going to have to, pay. He will have to pay restitution, but I don't know where the funds are going to come from. I am intrigued by this case because I like financial crimes. I'm actually curious to the accounting of where everything went. I want to know where that $100 million went. I want to know how much it cost to be Erika Jayne. She has a video that says it's expensive to be me. I think the name of the song is Expensive. If I find it on YouTube, I'll link it in the description. If that isn't the theme of this whole case, I don't know what is. But again, the documentary is called The Housewife and the Hustler. You can find it on Hulu. If I find the trailer, I'll link it in the description. Watch the last 3 seasons of Bravo's Real Housewives of Beverly Hills in order to see how this whole drama played out on the show with Erika and her soon-to-be ex-husband. There's just a lot going on. Final for my hair mask, I put on these 2 shower caps, and then this is a heat cap that I'm going to put on for about 30 minutes, and then I will rinse this out. So thank you guys so much for joining me for my very first deep dive. A closer look is what I'm calling it. Let me know if you like this style of video, and if you want me to go into details for cases. You guys know I've been following the Tim Norman case for 2 years now. I might do a deep dive from where we, from 2016 up until the conviction. Let me know if you'd like to see that. Let me know what other deep dives you'd like to see. There's a lot of cases I've been following. I watch a lot of crime documentaries on Netflix and Hulu and HBO. So I'm definitely going to be doing some deep dives into those. And I can't wait to bring you guys that. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment to let me know what you would like me to take a closer look at. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, stay safe.